Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Showing Up to Your Life podcast and YouTube channel. My name is Art Burns. And you know what? I'm enthusiastic and I'm feeling some excitement, but I'll be honest with you, I'm a little tired today. I just like to keep it real. You know me. Yeah, it was not a wonderful night of sleep last night. And, it's just been a very busy, really long, busy few weeks here. But I'm here and I'm showing up and I'm going to, reach down and grab as much enthusiasm and transform that into excitement as I can. So don't you worry about a thing. Okay. I'm here for you and I got you. But I wanted to make a note here about my schedule. It's turned out over the last, as I say, 4, maybe 5 weeks now, that, because of circumstances, because of different projects I'm involved with, because of different, partnerships and clientships and all that kind of stuff, I've wound up working 7 days a week for like the last 4 or 5 days. And, I'm no stranger to this. As I've told you, I used to have like 90-hour weeks. So it's still nowhere near as bad as I've ever known it to be. But at the same time, I recognize, because I'm looking at it with mindfulness. I'm accepting that this is what's happening. I'm not, freaking out and trying to do something rash and extreme to change things. I'm allowing it to be. I'm allowing it to exist. I'm allowing myself to exist with it, right? But I'm also, in my mindfulness, in my non-judging awareness, right? I'm able to see that eventually this is going to become something that is going to be a problem, right? Like, that much I know, right? I know that you cannot work 7 days a week, even if it's light work, even if it's work that you love. You need to have some breaks, right? So very shortly, okay, I'm going to start carving out, because part of the problem here is that the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, are really good days for people to do coaching, right? Because, if you work 5 days a week, Saturdays and Sundays are the days that you have where you can do something for yourself, right? Like a coaching, like meet with a coach, or, go to the gym, or whatever it is that you're doing, or, that you could be doing, right? And so I want to hold those days open for people, and I'm going to do this program coming up in a couple of weeks now that's going to be on Sunday evenings. My webinar is going to be on Sunday evening. So it's, the weekends are necessary, right? So this has set something up where, I don't have that downtime, on the weekends. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to carve out a weekend for myself during the week, right? And it's looking right now like it's going to be Mondays and Tuesdays. It's been Tuesdays for a few weeks, but as you can see, I'm working, right? I'm doing my part. Now, believe me, this is hardly work. Like, I don't feel like I, am this is not a struggle for me at all. And I love doing it, this podcast and video every day, but it, I have to get dressed. I have to, it's part of the routine, right? I don't have that one day where I can just stay in my pajamas all day, And so that's what I'm looking for. And so it's very likely that, in the next few weeks, I'm going to be shifting my schedule. Okay. So that I'm not going to broadcast a channel episode in the podcast or the YouTube or my mailing list on Mondays and Tuesdays, but I will do it on Saturdays and Sundays. All right. So I'm just throwing that out to you. I would welcome any opinions that y'all might have about that. Okay. If you think maybe, maybe it's too much, maybe y'all would rather I didn't do 5 days a week. Maybe, I don't know. I would love to get some feedback on that. Okay. Because I don't know how you all feel about that. Okay. Because I've never asked. And so yeah, any feedback would be very welcome. Okay. But that's just the sort of heads up of a potential change coming down the line. All right. Nothing's set in stone at this point, of course, and anything can change. Pardon me, just grabbing my water here. So yeah, I'm actually running my very first Google ads, and I think I got one person signed up for my webinar through the Google ads, which is very exciting. There's a few people already signed up for the webinar. Really excited about that. It's this coming Sunday at 6 p.m. my time, which is in the Mountain Time, which is 8 p.m. on the East Coast and 5 p.m. on the West Coast and 7 p.m. in the Central Time Zone. This gets me confused. I've been out here for 4 years now, and I'm still baffled, just baffled by the time zones all the time. It just confounds me. But anyway, and it's very simple. It's not that it's complicated. I'm not like, doing four different time zones in Europe or Asia or sub-Saharan Africa or anything. This is, just four time zones in the US, but it gets very taxing for me. But anyway, so that's coming up, right? The webinar, a couple people have signed up. It's really exciting. I am super pumped about the content that I'm creating for this. This is going to be amazing. And I'm really excited for you to get to check it out. All right. So you know what? Even if you're not really even if you don't feel as though you are struggling with anger, right? Because the webinar is going to be mostly about anger, but it's going to also be about mindfulness and heartfulness and compassion and the ways in which we can, transform anger into something that's healthy and useful, right? Which is really compassion, right? That's what it's ultimately going to come down to. But I'm not putting that cat out of the bag just yet. No spoiler alert here, but it's going to tie into that kind of thing, right? And so for that reason, if you're not really, necessarily struggling with anger, but are interested in hearing what I'm going to say in this webinar, by all means, come on in. Come on in. There's plenty of room. It's essentially unlimited. I think they cut you off at like 100 people or something like that. So if we get that close, I'll make an announcement. And I'll just open up another time. I'll do it twice. I'll do a double header. It's not a problem. But the thing is, it's gonna be a lot of great information. And I got this super super special offer that I'm really really excited to give, and it kind of came to me just the other day, and it's just like a really great way to add value that I'm really, really excited about. So you'll have to come to the webinar to find out what that means. Sorry, I don't mean to tease you. It's good-natured, but it's not like a FOMO kind of thing. It's going to be a true value that's going to be, really, a tangible and amazing thing, right? And it's not just a discount, right? So, okay, so what I want to talk about today, though, okay, well, actually, sorry, let me just wrap up on the webinar, just so you understand, right? It's about an hour-long webinar. And I don't like to use the word webinar, because webinar makes it sound like, just a bunch of people logging on and just watching me talk, and oftentimes webinars are recorded. This one is going to be live, okay? I remember last year when I was doing or 2 years ago when I was doing my live webinars every Sunday, every once in a while, somebody would get on there and like try to test you and make sure that you were doing it live and wasn't recording. So they would like type something in the chat, like say cucumber or something like that. So it was like, you'd say cucumber, I'm real, but this is going to be completely real. And it's really meant to be more interactive than that, so you can really, you can turn on your mic if you want to, and or your camera, and you can join the conversation, and I'm really, really excited about it. It's going to be a lot of great information. So next Sunday, if you're interested, okay? All right, now moving on to new business. So, as I said yesterday, I kind of, while I was doing the recording, literally while I was doing the recording, I just ad-libbed and I just improvised something completely different from what I was planning to talk about, right? I feel like it was a good episode. I really do. I feel like it was a solid episode. So I hope you enjoyed it. That all was completely improvised. It was just flying by the seat of my pants, right? And so today I wanted to kind of touch on what I was going to talk about yesterday, but what I'm going to do is combine yesterday's and today's originally planned episodes. Okay, so today, what I was originally going to talk about today was the concept, and this is something we've covered before, but the concept of allowing life to arise. Right? Or allowing life to arrive, like allowing it to happen, right? A lot of times, when people are experiencing chronic anger, right? Which, again, as you've heard my stories, and this is going to be I have another personal story today about a little bit about my anger, but more just about the concept of just accepting the situation for what it is, right? Because one of the things that people who, like I used to be, and who like you might be, people who struggle and deal with chronic anger, right? We have a tendency, you have a tendency to want to control the situations around us, right? And the reason for this want to control, right, is the anger, right? That's the feeling that, if I can't control things, then somehow someone is going to take advantage of me. Somehow, somewhere, I am going to lose something, and I cannot handle that, right? Like, that's not okay with me to lose anything. Like, I cannot give an inch, right? That's the way anger makes us feel, right? That we cannot leave open the chance for ourselves to, to lose or to become hurt or to become insulted or become, shortchanged in some way, right? Like, that's the thing, right? And all of you who deal with anger, you know exactly what I'm saying right now, right? You can feel that, right? And so it is, so it is anger that makes us want to control things, right? But here's how anger is really, it's so tricky and so sneaky, because not only is that attitude or that desire to control things, right? Not only is that the result of anger, but it is also the cause of anger. Right? Because the reality is that, try as we may, and believe me, I tried for decades, right? Try as we may to control the circumstances around us, we're going to fail. Eventually, we're going to fail every single time, right? There is no way to control everything that goes around you, right? Even like I used to own a business, and even then I could not control. I mean, I was the boss. I was the last word on everything, right? I could tell somebody they were fired and make them leave this second, right? And call the police on them if they didn't leave. Like, I had full control. As much as anybody could have any control over anything, I had control over this little restaurant. But I never had control over the little restaurant, right? Because the thing is, as soon as you introduce, like, okay, if you wanted to be in full control, there is one way that you can do it, okay? You can move to the mountains, live in a cave, all by yourself, right? Even then, you can't control everything, but that's as close as you're possibly going to come, right? But even then, you can't control if a bear comes by looking for some food. You can't control if it starts raining or snowing or flooding or what have you, hail, what have you, right? You can't control the temperature. You can't control erosion of your cave, right? Like, if the rocks start falling in your cave one night, you do not have any control of that, right? So even that kind of situation. Right. But certainly when we come back into normal, regular society, right, any time that you're dealing with, multiple people and multiple, circumstances and situations, it all just goes sideways and all over the place. There's no way for you to control all of that, even some of it. Right. And that's why really the only thing we can control, even not even the going up to the mountains and living by yourself, but the one only thing that we can control in our lives from the moment we are born till the time we take our last breath in this world, the one thing that we can control, and the only thing we can control, and only through practice can we control ourselves. That's it. That's it. That's the only thing we have full control over, right? I have control over whether I say, I'm going to get angry about this or not. Right? Well, actually, that's not true. That's not true. The anger that I feel is something I'm going to feel. Right? I don't necessarily have control of that, but I have control over what I say, right? I have control over how I express that anger, right? And once again, my favorite caveat here, okay? I'm going to pause right now and I'm going to say, do not, please, 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 do not ever look at it as a way that you're, as some sort of situation where we're trying to stifle or control or minimize or wrestle with our anger. Okay, that is never, ever, ever, ever going to be a good thing. Okay, what we want to do is we want to control the expression of our anger. Right? Not to stifle it, not to ignore it, not to run away from it, but to control it in the sense that, that I have the ability to either say what I want to say in a way that is roaring at somebody, or I can say it in a controlled and assertive way. That's the key, right? But that is, but again, it is, and only through a lot of practice can we get to the point where we can even control that, right? Because again, it's not like I have some clients who say, it's like, okay, that's it. From today on, I'm never going to let anybody bother me again. That's it. It's like, I love you for trying that. And I really love that oomph that you have for that, but it ain't going to work. It might work for a few days. It might even work for a couple of months, if you're lucky. But eventually, somehow, somewhere, life is going to come out and it's going to just going to dish out something that's going to throw you off, and you're not going to be able to handle that, right? It's just not the way it works, right? The only way it works is through deepening and enhancing our self-awareness, which leads to self-regulation. That's the only way it works, right? And so, or it's the most effective way it works, right? There's lots of anger management. I was reading that book I told you about. Now, I'm not looking to, badmouth anybody's books. His book is a lot better than my book that's not even written. So, I have full respect. The thing is, though, that I realized that the book was written originally, it was updated in 2004, but it was originally written in 1991, which is before a whole lot of neuroscience that's come out that really tells us a lot about our brains and our habits of our brains and stuff. And some of the treatments that are in the book and certainly in therapy now, right? Some of the treatments for anger management are not really, not very wise as in terms of neuroscience and neuro research, right? Anyway, I don't want to get too into that, but the idea though is that with practice, what we can control is we can control the way that we interface with our lives, right? And that's really what mindfulness is all about, right? And one of the ways in which we can change, right, is we can go from this kind of this place of feeling like we have to, or that we want to, or we even can control things, right? And set things to be exactly the way we want them to be so that we'll have a good day and we won't get angry, right? Like we can do that, right? Or we can simply reverse that, right? We can turn that around. And really, again, the idea of trying to control things is a mistake right from the beginning, right? It's not something that even happens anywhere in the world, right? In the whole universe, there is never a control of any kind, right? If you look at it, right? Like, yeah, we build waters, we build dams, but even walls and dams, but even those fail sometimes, right? Like even, we cannot, even, rocket ships fail, cars fail, we cannot control the things that we think we can control. We try, and sometimes it works, but really ultimately the world will not be controlled, right? In a very big way. And so when we can look at things a little differently that way, and we can maybe align ourselves more with the way nature really works, right? Which is not in control, which has a certain level of chaos to it at all times and unpredictability at all times. And if we allow ourselves, or if we train ourselves to be present, right? Really dwelling in this present moment, right? We train ourselves to accept the things that are arising in this present moment. We train ourselves to be compassionate and kind towards what it is that is arising in this present moment. And then we can open ourselves with a curiosity to allow things to arise, and with this kindness, with this acceptance, with this presence, and marvel at it all, and say, isn't it interesting how this person is speaking with these loud words and really seems to be wanting to hurt me? Isn't that interesting? Rather than, oh no, you're not going to hurt me, I'm going to meet you with my anger, and my anger is stronger than your anger, and right? Like that doesn't get us anywhere. It really doesn't. Right. And I can tell you that from much experience, decades of experience. Right. So let me tell you this story. So many years ago, I used to be very into golf. Okay. I used to love to play golf. I still do. I love the idea of golf. The idea of going out there for like 2 or 3 hours, maybe even 4 hours sometimes, beautiful day, just, no buildings, no cars, no, you're out there just walking around in the grass, and the skill of the game. I mean, it can be very frustrating, right? But it's a beautiful kind of concept, right? But as much as I love the concept, right? Golf used to make me so angry and so upset and so frustrated, right? Because again, you're looking to control it, right? You're looking to control where that little white ball goes, right? But all you're doing is swinging it and hitting it, and you're trying to get it in the right direction. But again, and this is actually something, a little side note here. One of the partners who I worked with, one of my clients, for the last like 6 months or so, until a few weeks ago, he graduated, he's moved on, and he's doing great. But one of the things that happened at the end of last golf season, which means like late fall, he came into one of our meetings and he was like, Art, I gotta tell you something, man. This mindfulness has helped so many areas of my life, and I had no idea how much it was going to help my golf game. But I just played the hardest course around, the one that always just eats my lunch. It's like I cannot get anything better than, like, I think he said like a 90 or something. And this is a guy who shoots in the high 70s sometimes, right? And he never shot lower than a 90 at this course, right? Which, if you don't know golf, that's pretty significant difference, right? And so so he says, but just yesterday or just this weekend, I went out to that course and I shot a 79 or something like that. Like I shot a 10 or an 80. Like he said, 10 strokes off his best score ever on that golf course. And why did he think this was that, or why he knew? He didn't think. He knew why this was. He says, let me tell you what it is. I said, please do tell me. I'm dying to know. He said, it's because, and they've said this to me over and over and over and over and over for all the years I've been playing golf. He says, they've told me that I have to let the last shot go, right? I gotta let it go. And but that's even if it's a good shot or it's a bad shot. A lot of times we feel like, oh, it's only when you put one in the woods, right? That's when you got to do some work on yourself and get yourself back into, no, but even the good shots, right? Because if you make a good shot, then the next time, maybe you're going to squeeze that club a little tighter. You got to make another good shot, right? And that's where your game becomes thrown off, which means, right, that in order to play golf well, right, or the more we can play golf with presence, with acceptance, with compassion, and with curiosity, then the more we're going to be able to let that last shot go and not think about the next shot after this one, but simply be with this golf shot. Because just like anything else in life, if we are really with this thing that we're doing, then we're going to do it as well as we can ever possibly do it, right? That's the key. Right. And that's the way the whole thing works. Right. And so years ago, my wife and I we used to do this like once a year. We would go to a golf school. Right. I mean, it was a golf school. It was definitely legit. You got lots of great lessons, but it was also a time to go up to Vermont and stay in a bed and breakfast for a few days and, go out at night and party and have fun and stuff. So it was, it was like a fun trip too. It wasn't just about golf, and so I had got, this was like the second or third year that we were doing this, right? And we always used to stay at the same bed and breakfast, which was run by one of the instructors at the golf school, not connected. You had to know him. Like I got to know the guy, and he was like, well, I run a bed and breakfast. You can stay with me. You had to like be approved kind of thing. And it was great. We had some great times. These people were amazing. We set barbecues at night at the bed and breakfast. It was really amazing. But so during this one time, right, we had this, we had this, the third time we had gone through, it's like a 4-day thing, 3-day thing, something like that. And during this, they had one day, like on Sunday afternoon, the last day or something like that, they had the, one of the golf club manufacturing companies was doing like a demo at the golf school, right? So I got to try out this different set of clubs, right? That, now to this point, I had been playing with the first set of golf clubs that my parents bought me, which had like these graphite shaft, and it was like a really not a good set of golf clubs. And of course, this had, I mean, I wasn't, at the time, I'm sure I blamed all of my golf problems on the clubs, especially once I got to try this other club, right? Like I picked up this 6-iron and I hit a shot like I've never hit a golf shot before. I was like, whoa. It's like, I need these clubs, and the guy was like, I don't know, it was something like some situation where like, okay, yeah, you can buy them from us, but they're like twice as much as you're going to get them from somewhere else, and so I asked Peter, the guy who owned the bed and breakfast and also was the golf pro, I was like, well, where else can I get these clubs? I need these clubs, but I don't want to pay, 2-3 times as much, like you're going to charge all the tourists here, so, and he's like, okay, yeah, no, there's a golf store, if you're going back to New York, you go on 91 south, when you get into Massachusetts, like right over the Massachusetts border, you take this exit, you go here, you go there, and there's a Golf World or something like that right there. And he's like, they got, I think he even called them and said, do you have the Callaway blah, blah, blah clubs? And they're like, yeah, we got them. And it was like, okay, cool. I was like, well, that's on our way. Let's stop and get new golf clubs. I'm so excited. I'm going to get new golf clubs. I'm going to be a real golfer now, and it's going to be so great, And so we pull into this parking lot, and my wife's like excited with me, and she's thinking maybe she'll get new clubs, and we'll both get new clubs. And we're gonna be rocking and golfing and loving it. And so we pull into this store, and it was like this weird scene, right? Like the doors were open, but like no lights on inside. Like what the heck is going on here? So we pulled up. And it was like rainy, and it was just this weird, I think there were like some storms or something. It was just one of the reasons why we like left the last day a little early, because it was like, we're not going to play golf in this pouring rain. So let's just go and buy new golf clubs, and like, yay, we got so excited about it. And what happens is when you get excited about things, now it's okay to get excited about things, but sometimes when we get excited about things, and this I think is also tied into the sort of tendency or predisposition to the anger, is that we sometimes have a tendency that when we are looking forward to something, we attach ourselves, we cling to that thing, right? So like we can't have it any other way, right? Like it's gotta happen this way, right? Or else we're a failure, right? Like that's the feeling that we get, right? And so we're sitting here and we're looking, and there's no lights on, and so I get out of the car and I walk up to the door, and the guy says, our power's out. I was like, your power's out? It's a big store. How's your power out? It's like, must be the storm. I don't know. We called the electric company. We're waiting to hear back from them. Can't sell anything. I was like, do I have cash? I don't have enough cash. I was like, really? You can't sell me? I need these golf clubs. Like this is like at this point, I'm like, I'm gonna die if I don't get these golf clubs, right? Like I'm like, I need these golf clubs. Darn it, And I didn't say darn it at that time. That was much more colorful language coming out of my mouth. Believe me. And so we're sitting there in the parking lot, and we're just thinking like, okay, well, why don't we just wait? Let's just see what happens. Let's wait for, for however long and see if the power comes on, And so we're sitting there, and again, because of this idea of control, and because of this idea of attachment and clinging that I had to this idea of getting these golf clubs today, I couldn't let it go. I couldn't not get golf clubs. Right? I just couldn't. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm just getting more and more frustrated and more like angry at the world, right? At this point, I'm angry at the rain. If you remember me telling you about that time in the pet store, right? Where I literally got angry at my cats because why the hell do you have to eat anyway? Like that's how I felt towards the rain. Like, God, how can you do this to me, universe? Like this is I need to get these golf clubs. I mean, it seems so absurd looking back at it, but at the moment, let me tell you, it was very, very real, and I was getting more and more tense. And then something really amazing happened. It didn't work at that time. It didn't do anything to me at that time, but looking back on it, it was such a big lesson for me that I missed, right? But I'm sharing it with you so that you don't miss it. Another guy comes into the parking lot, right? This dude pulls up next to us. He's about our age, give or take. He's a single guy. You could tell. Maybe he's a little younger than us, but he gets in and he pulls up. He looks at the store, which is also no lights on, but the door's open. It's really weird. It's like eerie, and it's raining. It's just a weird, eerie scene. And he looks at me and looks at my wife, and we look back at him, and he's like, and kind of like pause for a second. I said, the power's out. Like they can't sell anything because the power's out. And he sat there in his car. And he's looking at the store, and he was like, and I was like, yeah, we're ready to get a new set of golf clubs. And he was like, yeah, my golf clubs are being re-gripped or something like that. Like, damn, like this is damn, like I'm not going to get my golf clubs today, and he was, clearly not as angry as I was. And also understand, I'm coming off of this 3 or 4 day vacation. So, my anger is as low as it could be at that point. Right. And so the thing that the guy said though, I wish I could find him and interview him for this podcast, right? He said he just sat there in his car looking. He started shaking his head, and he said, I got to let it go. He's like, I've got to let it go. And he just said that over and over for like 4 or 5 times, and then he just started his car and he drove away. Now, again, that was a lesson. I should have learned that lesson at that moment. I should have said, you know what, babe, that guy's right. Let's just go home. Let's just do our thing. We'll get golf clubs next week in New York. There's plenty of golf stores in New York. It's okay. That's not what I did. What I did was I said, that guy's a sucker. Let's find another golf store. And that's what we literally did. We literally wound up driving around for like 2 hours and never getting the golf clubs because there was some other problem. It was like, by the time I got to the other golf store, I was already really like angry and grumpy. And now, I didn't like the way the guy talked to me or something. And I was like, no, I'm not buying golf clubs from these people. Screw it. Let's just go get a drink. And, it became that kind of thing where the day just eroded and became this just, went from something that had such promise and such excitement to it to something that was just like a wet towel. It was just really just a bummer of a day, right? And we look back on that sometimes and we laugh now, right, at how we used to act. But at the time, it was no joke, right? So this course that I'm teaching, starting a week from this Sunday, right, and the webinar that I'm doing this Sunday, it's going to be all about this, right? It's going to teach you how to, like that other man said, let it go. You got to let it go. You got to just accept the fact that sometimes it's just not the day. It's just not the time. And it's okay, right? I have golf clubs now. They're fine. I got the same ones that I wanted, just got them a week later. And looking back on it, it's like I can't remember, like how it felt even. Like it doesn't matter, right? And that's the other thing. Sometimes in the moment we feel like this is like do or die. But then 2 years later, 5, 10 years, 20 years later, we look back and we say, I don't even remember what I was feeling. Like, how could it have been that big a deal? Right? And so that's not to say let things go so that you never, ever do what you want to do. It's quite the opposite, actually. When we can accept things and let go of the expectations that we have, then we can actually maneuver through our lives in a nimble and flowy kind of way. We can play loose, right? We can play in the flow. And when we do that, life is pretty sweet. Life is really sweet. And most importantly, when we do that, we can really be there for life, whether that's for a golf shot or for a conversation with your 12-year-old daughter at 11 o'clock at night, or a walk with your 9-year-old son talking about Pokemon, or whatever it is, or something with your business, or something with an opportunity in your career. When you can be with those things, that's when life becomes really worth living. That's when life becomes really fulfilling. And so let me show you how. That's all I'm asking, right? And I can show you by just signing up for this webinar. And in the webinar, you're going to get a great offer that's going to make the course seem like, yeah, how can I not do this? Okay. And it's very affordable too. I know I quoted a price that was pretty high last time. It's not going to be nearly that much. It's going to be actually very affordable. So, let me know, okay? I'm going to put a link to my Calendly if you want to jump on a call and talk about this and ask some questions. Maybe you have some questions about the program and you're wondering if it's right for you. Hit me up, book a call with me, okay? Calendly's having some weird trouble today with their link, so you might or might not be able to get on right this minute. Give it a couple hours, try again, accept it, let it go, allow life to arise, and try it again in a few hours. We'll connect, I promise. But I'm also going to put a link to the registration page for my webinar, okay? As I said, I've already got a few people in there, so you're not going to be alone. It's going to be exciting. Sunday night at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. in the East Coast. So those links will all be down there, okay? And I hope you use them because I really, if you're even considering whether this is for you, it probably is. And so check out the webinar. It's free. There's no risk, right? It's an hour of your time on a Sunday evening. All right? So check that out, and then we'll talk about the course after that. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I wish you well. I'll be back again tomorrow. And don't forget, let it go today. Okay? Just accept it, let it go, and just allow life to arise. See how that feels. See what changes if you do that. All right, everybody. Take care.